London, where I'm part of the extraordinary cast of the new Knives Out movie. The thing that happened is that I had worked for 2 days, and then I came down with COVID and RSV, both at the same time.
That does not sound fun. Chloe says she hopes to be back on the set by tomorrow. She didn't say if anyone else was sick, and there's no word that production was actually impacted. We'll hear now our Fox 11 medical contributor, Dr. Michael Daignault. Good to have you. How common is it to have both COVID and RSV? We've seen that before, but yet again? And are you seeing this in the ER?
No, we're certainly not seeing a lot of this in the ER right now, but I think her case brings up a good reminder for everybody, especially those over 60, that there now is an RSV vaccine that you can get every year. And RSV typically causes more severe illness in the elderly and the very young. So just a reminder that, you know, if you're over 60, you can get the RSV, the flu, and the COVID vaccines in the fall. So I think it's a good reminder in her case.
Okay, and you know, I know there's been a lot of headlines out there, and maybe our viewers have seen it, that COVID cases are on the rise. It's still dramatically lower than they were even a year ago, and I'm glad to hear that you're not seeing a lot of that in
No, not at all, much lower.
Okay, good. So we do like to ask the doctor, so we have you here. What else have you seen in the ER? Allergic reactions?
Yeah, in the last week, I've had a lot of shifts where I've seen patients coming in with allergic reactions, and I just want to bring this knowledge, you know, from the ER to people's home, that don't always assume that the allergic reaction is something that you eat. And I think that's what people will usually go for, and try to remember that it could be something in your environment. And I always ask people, did you change your soaps recently? Any new detergents, deodorants? Especially moms with young kids, the Dreft fabric softener is a big offender, causing a lot of allergic reactions. And so when you have that allergic reaction, we can certainly treat it with Benadryl, some steroids like prednisone. But if then you go back home and you continue to expose yourself to whatever that allergen is in your home environment, your symptoms are gonna happen again. So you really gotta do some detective work. And people always ask us, isn't there a test that you can do in the ER to identify the source of the allergen? And there really isn't. And even if you go to an allergist and they test you for food allergies or environmental allergies, can't really pinpoint which one it is specifically. So it's more of like a trial and error at home to see what you're exposed to and see if you develop any symptoms.
And when you say these symptoms, is it hives? Do they come in
hives, usually the rash. Most people don't come in with anaphylaxis, which is where your throat is swelling up, shortness of breath, chest pain. Obviously, that warrants additional treatment from us, including something like epinephrine. So.
Okay, yeah, the EpiPen.
Right.
So we were just talking about the forecast, and we have another heat wave coming our way. Heat is the #1 meteorological way that people die.
Right.
And so you are starting to see more of these heat-related illnesses. What do you have to say about that?
Certainly in the San Fernando Valley, where I work as well. And so I think some things we have to pay attention to. 2023 was the hottest year on record for the planet. 2024, we're already setting records. The concern with this heat wave is that it's occurring very early in the season. So especially those that are elderly or very young, they haven't had a chance to acclimatize to hotter weather. The second thing that's concerning about this upcoming heat wave is that it's a long duration. So you have hot days, hot nights. There's no chance for recovery, really. And what happens is our bodies, particularly the brain, the heart, and the kidneys, have a hard time thermoregulating, like getting back to that baseline temperature that they need to function. And so we see a lot of patients with heat stroke, heart failure, damage to their kidneys that have been exposed to the heat for too long a time without a chance to recover. And so I think this is going to be one that we really have to be very careful of in the community.
When does somebody need to seek medical attention?
Right, so I always tell patients, you know, the elderly, the young, you have to check on them. Your neighbors, your relatives, make sure they have at least one cold room in the house, or try to find an LA County cooling center. But the main sign is when the mental status changes, where you start to notice differences in how they're talking, how they're responding, almost like stroke-like symptoms. That is the #1 reason to come to the ER or call 911. That's a concern for heat stroke, severe dehydration.
Okay, well, we want to let our viewers know, too, that this isn't you know, you're not just wearing your scrubs for the segment. He literally finished his shift in the ER, and he came here to help us out tonight. So we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
If you want your question answered by Dr. Michael Daignault, you can send an email to askthedoctor@fox.com. Include your name and city, and we will get your question answered right here live on the air. Dr. D, thank you as always.
Thank you very much.
All right.